So, but we will go ahead and get started and let everyone kind of introduce themselves. Andrew and I can start. You know that we're in Atlanta. We got started with Connect I got started maybe 3 years ago in 2016 when the first committee got going and started talking about an event like this and needed people to help with planning. I had just moved to Atlanta, back to Atlanta from Portland, Oregon, and Andrew and I were engaged at that time, and I was looking for people to meet in the city that were outside of our small OCA parish here, and Connect really provided that for me. I got involved with friends from the Greek church, the Antiochian church, from the Greek cathedral, lots of different parishes around the city, and was able to really connect with people and get involved. Andrew came on board the second year as co-leadership chair with me. We took a position to help kind of guide and lead the conference last year, and then we had a baby in February, so we stepped down. Yeah, hopefully she'll stay asleep. She's wedged. You can see her wedged in the side of her crib right now, so we'll see if she stays asleep. Our house is small, so if I have to duck out, that's why. But we stepped down for a while, and then came on about a month ago to help the group look for a 2020 location and follow up these phone calls and emails and our conference call here tonight.
Yeah, I think what would be great, so we keep saying if nothing else comes of this, although we hope to have a 2020 city, but if nothing else comes from it, we would love to be able to connect you all with other Orthodox young adults in your community that you may not know. So I always think it's fun, you know, what's your name, what parish are you attending, and we've got a number of people on the call, which is super exciting, so we can keep it short, but maybe a quick little snippet about your history in Orthodox. Are you cradle born? Are you new to the faith? You know, where you come from? Are you Dallas local or transplant? So for myself, I've been born and raised in Grant Park. Actually, Alicia and I were part of the same parish growing up here in Atlanta, and her family moved away when she was 6 to Oregon. Or 9, yeah, well, 9, 6.
Family history.
9. Her dad's a parish priest. They were in the Serbian Archdiocese for a long time. But as she said, she's back here in Atlanta, and we're still going to the same. We go to an OCA parish here in Atlanta, but she was obviously in the Serbian parish for a while. She's been in a Greek parish for a while, and now back to the OCA parish. So she's been in a lot of different groups, and I've been in the OCA parish all my life. So we don't have people going over each other. Maybe I'll just put people on the spot and call them out. Lucas, since you're on the top of my list, do you want to start?
Sure. So Lucas Postolis, I'm from Houston, but went to SMU, and that's probably Dallas. From the Annunciation Greek Orthodox Church in Houston, Mount Holy Trinity, Dallas. So I would say I'm technically what you'd call cradle born, but I heard something recently that I like. So I heard someone say, stop using the word cradle because we're actually all converting to the faith, you know, constantly. So I'd say I'm cradle born, but I'm also converting.
Nice, thank you. Nick, can I put you on the spot next?
Sure. So my name is Nick Chirian. I am a senior at Texas A&M University, but I go to Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church in Dallas, just like Lucas, Dimitri, and so currently I was a recent convert since April 20th of this past year. I grew up Romanian Pentecostal. Yes, I was a Romanian Orthodox my whole life. I found my way. I love the church. Thanks for being here. Looking forward to it. I hope you guys are here.
Great. Thank you. Let's see. Who do we have next? John, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. John Naum. I go to St. Constantine and Helen here in Dallas. I am cradle Orthodox, but I grew up in South America and basically grew up going to the Catholic Church. and I'd say I kind of started coming to the faith seriously about 7 years ago or so, and I've been pretty involved year over year. So I'm looking forward to this call and seeing what comes out of it, and see you guys in Atlanta in October, hopefully.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Exciting. Corey, I see that you joined us online. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Make sure you're unmuted there.
How about that? Is it better?
Hey,
Yeah.
now I got you.
All right. So I'm Corey Whitlock. I'm from West Virginia. Was not born Orthodox. I was actually went to Dallas Theological Seminary, and I became Orthodox in my last year. So ordained Baptist minister for 4 years, and I moved to Dallas for seminary, and I'm working at a drafting firm, engineering firm as a drafter right now.
Very cool.
So,
And sorry, I missed it. What parish are you going to?
St. Seraphim Orthodox Cathedral.
Very nice. Excellent. Dimitri?
Hey, I'm Demetrius Buck. I go to Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church, where I am the youth director, and I am from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and grew up in the parish there, also Holy Trinity. So glad to be here.
Nice. Great. Anna?
I'll introduce myself and my husband because he's going to join at some point.
Great.
I moved to Dallas to go to SMU for grad school, and I just graduated in May. I became Orthodox not even a year and a half ago, a little over a year ago, and got married in December, and we're having a baby in November, December. I'm not sure. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. My husband was Lutheran before we both converted at the same time. He was Lutheran and I was Catholic.
Very cool. Thank you. And Janelle?
Hi, I'm Janelle, obviously. I go to St. Seraphim Cathedral in Dallas too. I was raised Presbyterian, and then in my just before my last year of college, over in Oregon actually, I converted at an OCA parish just south of Portland, called the Annunciation. So that was like a year and a half ago, last Pascha.
We have mutual friends then.
Yeah, I was gonna say we probably do. That's super cool. Such a small world.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great area for Orthodox people. It's not quite as big as Dallas, but
Right.
Yeah.
it's a great place. Yeah, and I know nothing about Connect other than I like it. So here we are.
That's all you need to know.
That's-
You like it.
It's a perfect segue because we have a lot to tell you guys.
Yeah.
Did we get everyone? Did we miss anyone on the intros?
Well, I would just say I'm incredibly encouraged and excited by the Pan-Orthodox community. Well, Alicia will talk a little bit more about it, but being Pan-Orthodox is very important to the integrity of Connect. So having OCA, Antiochian, and Greeks, and in this first call is awesome. And having, sorry to use the phrase again, but cradle-born and some converts is another wonderful blend that we really look to embrace. So thank you all for joining us. I hope you can continue to participate and we don't scare you off with this first call.
All right. Does that pop up for them too?
It did.
Okay, perfect. All right, so hopefully most of you that are on computers can see the slides here, but we will share out the deck like Andrew said afterwards if people are on their phones still. That's fine. We will give you a brief rundown on Connect and what we've done so far. We're not really going to delve too much into what the weekend actually looks like. Hopefully people got a chance to see some of the recap videos that show what happened the last couple of years. We're going to talk a lot more about the planning of the conference because that, of course, is kind of where we're hoping to focus our efforts, hopefully in Dallas. But the mission of the conference is to engage young adults by cultivating Pan-Orthodox community that's focused on spiritual growth, authentic conversation, and fellowship. And I will say that those three last things that are highlighted and the Pan-Orthodox community as a whole is definitely what happens during the weekend, regardless of the events and the format and things that take place. So that's what we have done, and that's what we're looking to continue in a new city for next year. So in 2016, a small group of young adults started talking informally in Atlanta, and began saying that there's really a dearth of a lack of events like this in the Southeast, particularly for young professionals or young adults 21 to 39. There's more events in on the West Coast or up in the Northeast Boston area, Pittsburgh, things like that. But we kind of don't have that here. And we wanted to find a way to do an event that was fun and also spiritually balanced and had a lot of meat to it, as well as a lot of fun to it for that age range. So the group worked for 2 years actually to plan the first inaugural conference in 2017. So 2 years ago, we had the first conference. It was a great success. We had about 130 people. The second year, we created more of a committee structure and tried to put some things in place so the event could be replicated elsewhere, and did again in Atlanta in 2018 with about 183 people. So both the budget and the number of attendees grew. I will say, if we haven't mentioned it to you already, that we had attendees last year from over 33 US states and provinces in Canada. So not just that exclusive Southeast picture that we kind of thought it might be in the beginning, but really drawing from all over the US. Right now, the planning committee is involved in the 2019 conference, which is in October, and we'll give you a code at the end if you want a discount and are thinking of attending this year. And also, we're in the process of looking at communities in Charlotte, Dallas, Jacksonville, and Pittsburgh for next year's conference. We feel like it's time both for the sanity of the group on the ground here, as well as just kind of continuing to grow the conference to move it to a new venue and a new host city for next year. And then we can come back to Atlanta or reevaluate kind of what we're doing for 2021. So that's where we are today. This is the next slide. So one of the things that we've mentioned a couple times is that being Pan-Orthodox is central to the conference itself. This is a breakdown of participants from last year, 2018. And you can see that the majority of the participants in terms of one particular group is from the GOA, the Greek Orthodox. 45% of our participants came from the GOA in some state or another. The second largest group was the OCA, and then you have the Antiochian, and then other smaller jurisdictions, and then I think the really small one that says other, the 3.8% is things like Carpatho-Russian, and maybe we have Western Rite attendees, things like that. So we really are Pan-Orthodox. We work very hard to maintain that. Of course, in our city, the Greek churches are the largest, and I think that's true in a lot of cities. So it makes sense that Greek Orthodox would have maybe the larger representation, but really is a Pan-Orthodox committee that we have here in Atlanta and a Pan-Orthodox group of attendees.
And I think, so just to expound on Alicia's point, what we believe is that the pie chart is representative of the national breakdown of jurisdictions, which is exactly what we would hope to see and hope we can continue to see. So having marketing efforts go out equally to all different jurisdictions. And
all right.
So next up, we have Connect 2019 happening in October. Hopefully many, all of you can make it. But then 2020 is what we're going to talk about a little bit more today. So I'll share quickly what it looks like from a high level, the pattern of planning for the conference. Just to give you some context, we don't need to get into the weeds, or you don't need to stress or worry about, oh my gosh, how are we going to get all this done? We have a really great plan, and we would be with you the whole way to walk you through it. But I just want to give you a 10,000-foot overview. So the planning phase really starts with getting a committee established, gathering your group of people, and kind of figuring out who's going to do what and how you're going to divide and conquer the workload. And then you want to set in place all of the different things that you're going to need to go out and market the event. So what's our theme going to be for the coming year? The year that we were working on the conference, it was understanding our purpose as Orthodox. Do you know what it is this year? Mystery of Faith. Well,
Yeah.
we should have
We should
answers to
know that.
questions that we'll ask ourselves. But coming up with a theme, figuring out who your speakers are going to be, and where your event space is. Those are probably the three most important things to be able to go to market and start having people sign up. Once you know that, then you're in planning phase and working out your details, getting an event schedule, things like that. And now you're ready to go to market. Probably in the spring of 2020, you start pushing that out. And again, we have the lists, we have the MailChimp accounts, we have all of the website, social media, all of the things that you'll need to do that. But that'll be kind of the next phase, is the marketing and communications. And then of course, running parallel to that is the planning right up to the event. So then you're executing the event, putting on the fantastic 4th annual Connect conference. And immediately after that, there's some follow-up survey questions, reporting out to sponsors, and other information like that you'll want to push out.
Do we want to take a quick pause and ask? I think we had 1 or 2 people just join in the last 5 minutes. Just one. I'm not sure who that number is, but do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah.
Hi.
Oh,
I'm Tiffany. I'm just joining. I just got off of work. Sorry about that.
No, that's great. We're glad to have you. Welcome.
Thank you. All right. So this next slide is an overview of the job descriptions and work that would need to be completed. I think Alicia's looking at me now because I was supposed to change something, and I'm realizing now that I didn't change it.
That's okay.
But we have a committee structure that's worked really well for us here in Atlanta, and when the time comes, we can share that and we can think about how we might want to replicate or adjust. I think it has a lot to do with the folks that you have in Dallas, what their interest is, what their skill sets are. So I didn't want to put up here for you the committee structure we use, because it might not be the best committee structure for you all. So rather, let's talk quickly about the jobs, and you all can kind of be thinking about, oh yeah, that's something I might like to do, or I would be good at, or even better yet, I know some other people that would be really good at these jobs. Let's draw them in. They can help out in these ways as well. So there are really 5 main buckets that we look at. And the one that's missing from here would be, I'd call it like executive operations. So that would be your budget, managing your project timeline, scheduling meetings, really kind of that executive director position that's keeping all the balls in the air, making sure everyone's communicating, everyone's working towards the same vision and purpose, and they're well integrated to one another, that no one's operating in a silo alone, going off and doing their own thing that's not cohesive for the overall good of the event. And then we have just truly standard operations. So that's figuring out where your venue is, working with them on flow and what rooms do we need, coming up with a list of the volunteers that you're going to need on site and managing them, figuring out your audio and video needs. Print production would be things like t-shirts and goodie bags and pamphlets, welcome pamphlets, things like that. Of course, food and beverage, because we do provide meals throughout the event, as well as some events that have drinks where we've given complimentary beer and wine. And then there's a bunch of social activities that go on. Before the event, we have some social activities. There's an icebreaker the first night of the event. There's like a dance party kind of event on Saturday. And then we usually try and do a couple events after the conference ends as well. So that would all kind of be operational tasks that need to be accomplished. Then there's marketing and communications. That's going to be a lot of the outreach to the parishes, to past participants. Again, all lists that we have that you would leverage. It would include reaching out to, well, initially coming up with a list of speakers that you want to reach out to, and then reaching out to them, becoming the point of contact, managing them all the way through the event itself. creating content for social media, posting that content, potentially looking at some paid advertising on social media, as well as moderating the social media channels. Keeping the website up to date as you go along. There'll be lots of content to add there, and then any graphic design pieces like coming up with a cool design for the t-shirt sorts of things would fall under marketing and communications. Engagement is going to be your sponsorship, your fundraising, a bit of marketing as well. The grassroots marketing, managing the registration platform, so getting that built out and set up, make sure it's working, and any back-end things that have to happen there, as well as the check-in on site, handing out t-shirts, etc. One piece that we haven't done a great job with, I think we can do a better job, is grant writing. If anybody had experience in that or was just interested, I think we have other people that could share how to do it, but grant writing would be another way to bring in revenue and support the sponsorship and fundraising piece. And then volunteer recruitment, because there will be some number of volunteer needs that you'll have at the event as well. And then the last piece is spiritual advisor, and this is you would want this to be a priest in the Orthodox Church. It would not be a lay person. You all would select and kind of come together and say, hey, I think this person would be great, and ask them to serve in that role for you. In the planning phase, they would make sure that everything you're doing, as we said, was kept on target, focused on Orthodox canons, and wasn't leaving the Orthodox faith accidentally. They would also help with any kind of conflict resolution management. If there was people that weren't getting along or disagreeing, they could intercede and help with that. And then on site, serving in a bit of that role as well, and the pastoral role to help with the guests if anybody has those needs. In a more practical operational sense, we've also asked our spiritual advisor to help with coordinating the services that we've had. Figuring out who might lead the choir and making sure there's a choir there, any liturgical items that might be needed, anything from prayer books to the Eucharist. And I think that's it. Anything I missed?
I don't think so.
Cool. So next steps, we're going to send out a survey after this call, and it will offer you an opportunity to look at all of those different kind of categories that we suggested and check the box and say, hey, these 17 things all sound really great to me. I would love to be involved in any one of those. And it'll just help us get a sense for where the interests are and where the gaps are as well. There'll also be a section in there where you can fill in your availability. Do I have a couple hours a month or several hours a week to give? And there are small jobs that only require a couple hours a month, and there are really big jobs that require several hours a week. So we need all of those. I would ask that you be relatively liberal in filling that out. Don't err on the side of, oh, I don't think I can give time, just to help us get a sense. It's not a commitment that you're making. We can talk about what, that job might actually entail down the road, but be a little bit liberal right now to help us be perhaps a bit more optimistic in what we can accomplish.
Essentially, the goal will be to see from the different cities we're talking to, which group would be best set up for success to run 2020. And manpower is a big, those were a lot of jobs that Andrew threw out there. And our committee here is about 20 people. So we want to see that there's enough people in the city that are interested. Certainly on this conference call, I feel, there are, just from who could make it tonight. And we want to see that there's the talent and the time basically to put on the conference. So that's what we're looking for with the survey.
The last section in the survey will just, and this is totally optional, will help us get a sense of professionally where your expertise lies. And if you have time and you're comfortable sharing that, please do. Otherwise, just skip it. That's fine. We'll send it out tonight. If you can, we would love to get responses. We have a meeting with the leadership team actually tomorrow morning tomorrow evening to tell them where we are with this. So if you have time during the day or tomorrow evening to send in responses, that would be great. But if not, if you can at least get to it by this weekend, that would be wonderful. So in addition to that, kind of, again, to test the engagement of the group and see how interested you are. We'd love you all to meet in person and get to know each other. As I said at the outset of the call, some of you may not have heard it. If nothing else comes from this process, we'd love you to get to know some other Orthodox people in your community, outside of your parish, outside of your jurisdiction, and connect with them. That's, I think, a wonderful opportunity. So if you all can meet in the next week to 10 days, there are a couple questions that we would love to get your responses on. 3 ideas for a theme, some speakers you'd like to hear about or hear from, and kind of brainstorming a plan for fundraising. And then we'll let Alicia kind of talk more about what we need from those questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So the initial part of the planning phase is kind of that early discussion we want, hopefully, for you to have. And the idea with this discussion is that it would be anybody who is currently on this call who is serious about seeing if Dallas could be the city, and anyone that you know. So that you would set up a meeting to have that in Dallas in the next couple of weeks and discuss those 3 things. And to help you break those down a little bit, I wanted to share what we've discussed over the past 3 years about theme, speakers, and funding, and what that means to the conference every year to help guide your discussion. The theme is something that we come up with very early on, because you want to be able to publish it. You want to be able to build your speakers around it. Sort of everything comes out of the theme. It is also one of the most fun discussions that we have in all of our year of planning, because it can get very philosophical and very relevant to kind of what people are dealing with in this age demographic, and kind of unearthing that. And here's why I think this theme is important. No, here's why I think this is important. And these are the things we want to kind of get at. And it's really an exciting conversation for the group. So the first thing is that it's on mission, which I shared with you in the beginning. So Orthodox would be kind of first. That it's reaching our demographic. So 21 to 39 is the general kind of age range. So people that are mostly graduating or have graduated college, or even graduate, postgraduate work. They're starting families perhaps, or they're considering their vocations, things like that. The theme needs to be marketable. One thing that we agonize over with our communications coordinator every year is, how can we wordsmith this to make it easily kind of approachable for people that are reading it, on the website or Facebook, something like that? Does it have both breadth and depth? We want something that a good theme will be something that almost any decent speaker can speak to. It's not narrow, but it kind of has substance and meaning. So it intrigues you. You want to find out about it because it kind of touches something inside of you. And that sort of hits on the accessible. The next thing we talk about, and this is usually over the course of many meetings. So what we're asking you to do is just sort of brainstorm the conversation, not commit to anything, not have it all fleshed out, but kind of just see what the group consensus kind of is and how it might look and feel if it were in Dallas. And so for speakers, we start, of course, are they Orthodox? They need to be Orthodox. Can they speak on the theme? We look for a keynote. Last year we did the same person for opening and closing, and that worked really well. So I recommend replicating that. And then we do breakouts. And I think we usually have
3 in the morning and 3 in the evening. 3 in the afternoon.
Yeah, and sometimes there can be we've had some duplication of those speakers, but yeah, 4 to 6 breakout speakers on top of the keynote, and that is because what we're trying to do is a little bit more of a TED Talk style conversation, where there's some presentation and a lot of dialogue in that breakout session, and also where the group, the young adults that are attending, can choose from a menu of topics and speakers that they want to hear from. And so it's very appealing, and also kind of lets people come and get what they want out of it. We've had a technology speaker both years, and some people, want that every single year, and some, because it's very relevant. But some people might want a different
relationships
topic.
Is another popular one.
We had Father Nicholas and Roxanne Lowe the first year, and that was they have a podcast on ancient faith from Florida, and that was very, very popular. So thinking about your speakers, just brainstorming kind of who do we know that we would love to hear from. The last piece is funding, and as we alluded to earlier, only a portion of our funding comes through registration. It would be very expensive to fund the conference. The registration would be very expensive if we wanted to fund the conference entirely through people's registration costs. So we go out and seek donations, and we raise between $10,000 and $20,000 each year, depending on the budget. And this is a group effort. It falls mostly under that engagement kind of group that works with it. But considering who in your city, generically, not specifically, not names, not addresses, phone numbers, nothing specific, just who in your city, you know, we think we could get this much from relatives, or we think that our parishes would actually, you know, give us money from their budget line. We think we could get this grant because we know the foundation is local, things like that. Just sort of a very general sense of where do we think we could get money to have this conference here in Dallas.
And I would put a caveat with that. I truly believe that God will provide at the end, and He has the first 2 years, and He certainly is in the third year as well. So again, we throw out $10,000 to $20,000 just to give you an idea of context. We're not looking for you to come back to us with a plan to reach $10,000 or $20,000. We just want to see how you're approaching it, how you're thinking about it, you know, creatively. What sort of resources do you think you might have to leverage it? Look at it more as maybe a litmus test than an actual exercise to come back with firm numbers.
Right, not firm numbers, just kind of a general sense of how you might go about it. And we found here that within our group of 20 volunteers, there are a handful that have really phenomenal connections in terms of fundraising and who don't mind asking for money. Some people hear fundraising and that's just like, I'm out, I can't do it. And that's me. But there are people in every group who are excellent at it and who have the connections to do it. So if that's not you, don't be scared. The group will come up with it. It will happen. And the other thing is, you know, in terms of looking at the budget, is that, like Andrew said, that number is somewhat flexible because our first year, for instance, we had a huge amount of donations with audiovisual that cut down our fundraising needs. So there are other ways to kind of go about it. And that leads into this. Do you want to?
Sure. Well, this is for context here. So just a quick overview of the budget that we had. So the first year we had 127 people and we spent about $25,000. As Alicia said, we got a lot donated. We picked a hotel that was a little bit further outside of town and really went thrifty in the right areas, but delivered on experience in other areas. Next year, we needed a bigger hotel to try and grow a little bit more. And we didn't have the same opportunities with audio video. So we spent a lot more money. I think it comes out to about $50 per person more in year 2 versus year 1. But both years, the breakdown came out to be about 35% donations, 65% registration fees. So you all would dictate the budget, again, with our help to get you there. But depending on what resources and assets you leverage, you all come up with the budget, and then we help you figure out how to get there. One thing that is really important for the future of Connect, we set a metric early on that we wanted to be able to have a net revenue gain of 10 to 15% of our total budget that we would be able to set aside each year for rainy day fund, or, you know, if we ever decide to become our own 501c3 or whatever the future may hold, we want to have some money set aside. So each year, if we spend for easy math, if we spent $100,000, we would want to make sure that we net 10 to 15,000 at the end of the conference. So when building that budget, we want to be mindful of that and setting the expectation up front. What we would be asking of you is to be able to contribute back that money at the end of the conference to help with the future growth. So as we said, the 2019 conference is coming up in October. We mentioned this to a few of you that we've spoken with. If we do move forward with Dallas, we would love and hope that several of you are able to attend. Alicia and I and perhaps a few others would make a point of meeting with you, giving you kind of a behind the scenes VIP tour so that you see all the intricacies of what's going on and you get to experience the conference so you really know how to replicate and reproduce it. and we would make sure that you get a chance to speak with some of the core team members here to ask questions and get their insights into planning. If you are interested and able to come, there is this code. Again, we'll send it out if you're on phone, but RC0050. If you put that in before the 31st, it'll give you $30 off. So September 1st, I think their pricing goes to late registration fees. So pricing jumps up and the $30 code stops working. So if you have an interest in going, I would suggest that you go ahead and pull the trigger soon.